don't know if I'm live or not. What's going on? I just wanted to do a quick jump on, real quick. Because I did this video the other day after my dad died. I probably got the worst news in 13 years on that day. I think it was that day. I don't know, this week's been a blur. And I've really been struggling. I talked about my first panic attack in 5, 10, 19 years. I've only had 2 in my life, and I just had one a few days ago. And I just shared all this stuff. I wasn't thinking. Usually on this live stream, the class war, the struggle. I talk about the struggle, but I don't go too much into my personal life. I don't know. I don't. Sometimes it's too crazy to go into. It seems there's a lot of traumatic things, really gnarly things. And sometimes when I talk to people about these things, it just feels like we're on 2 different planets talking to people sometimes. But there are a lot of people that have survived trauma. And those are the people I can bond closely to. As one of my buddies who's here on YouTube, Chad Kalick, says, cut from the same cloth. And people that have endured a pain so terrifying that it feels like you're in a vice. It feels like you're constantly being squeezed in a vice. Those are the people I really feel like I can speak to, I can open up to. I mean, just my point is like, my job gives you 10 free therapy sessions, virtual therapy sessions. Which, number one, when I heard that, I was like, what does that say about this job? I understand it's a nice gesture, but I also find it a little suspect. Like, you might be needing some therapy, so we're gonna let you have some free ones. And the reason I bring this up, and again, this is like just weird personal stuff. I don't know if I should even be talking about it, but I'm gonna get to my point in a second. But I feel like this all relates. I used up all 10 of those. The funniest one I used up was I booked with a therapist and he didn't even show up. And I thought, how appropriate. In a time where I really need therapy, they're bailing on me. I sat there for almost an hour and they just never showed. I thought seems about right. But through all those therapy appointments and people I did meet with, it was like I was talking to people on a different planet. Like when I went through my life story, I just knew in their eyes they couldn't relate. I knew. Didn't have to go too deep into it. I just knew. You can tell. You can just tell. It's like a sixth sense. You can just sense when someone's endured, that when they have scars, not scars on the outside, scars emotionally, spiritually, they have those interior scars that you just carry with you like baggage. As much people try to tell you, you gotta leave that baggage, you gotta work through it, you gotta let it go. I let it go every day. Every single day I wake up, I let it go. It's still there. Those scars never disappear. They don't heal either. Scars don't heal. They may close up, they may, look different, but they're still scars. And I say all that because when I've been talking about, so on Wednesday we had just absolutely devastating news. I still haven't gone into it. Maybe I will, but I'm trying to process right now. I'm really having a hard time processing. Staving off panic attacks at every turn. Just trying to put one foot in front of the other. That's it. And trying to be strong for my kids and wife, But I really contemplated. I said the weight of this is too much, and I've been doing YouTube for a long time now. In fact, I've tried to switch it up. I love doing comedy videos, but it's really hard to write and produce and edit and all that stuff on your own. It's really, really tough. And plus, when you're writing comedy, it's really hard when you have no one to bounce things off of, because you kind of get stuck in your head. But I love doing it, and I'll still hopefully do it. But the class war, the struggle live stream that I wanted to do is just a passion. You know, there's always stuff that I want to talk to people about or alert people to, because I feel like, you know, we get so trapped in our jobs and just surviving, eating, that we don't have time to recognize what's going on around us. And sometimes we have these blinders on where we're just going through life. And that's really what inspired me to do it. So many people that I encounter every day, they're just work until they die. And that crushes me inside, because as every time before us, there were people that had to survive, but they also felt like they needed to push for better. So that's why I started this live stream every weekday, 5 days a week. But then the trauma and devastation hit last week. And I seriously consider, I was like, maybe I just can't do this. I don't know if I have the strength. I don't know if I have the power. I don't know if doing this is something within my mental bandwidth, in my capacity anymore. And I didn't want to quit. And when I give someone my word, that's like the worst thing about me. Like, if I give you my word, I make good. I mean, I'll have to sacrifice whatever, but I make good. And that's why sometimes I just won't give my word, or I'll say, you know, like, I'll do my best. And even at jobs, you know, if they make me, just so you know, if you're ever in a job that goes off a contract, they legally have you bound to that contract. But for me, my word is that contract. So I learned the hard lesson, because corporations effed me over. When I would go, hey, you gave me your word on this. And they said, is it in the contract? And I'd go, well, no, but you gave me your word. I just took you at your word, you know, because that's how I would be. And they took advantage of that. And I had to learn a hard lesson. Again, I was young. I did radio for 20 years, working contract to contract, and I had no one to advise me. You know, no one to really keep me keen to the maliciousness of the corporate world. I just didn't. I wish I did. Again, my dad died when I was real young, so I had no one really took me under their wing at that point. And the few people that did, they were more looking out for themselves financially. Spiritually, they looked out for me, but when it came to money, a whole different animal. So I had to learn all these hard lessons, but still, to this day, I value my word. When you don't have much, your word becomes a very important thing. And even at work today, people would ask me stuff, and I'd be like, you know, if I give you my word, which I can't, that means I'm going to do it. So if I can't, you know, that just means, like, I don't want to give my word on something. But this... So the reason I bring that to you is because this struggle, this class war live stream, I gave you my word, and I said it every time, including right now. Even though it's not a weekday, I'm here because I needed to address this. Because this whole weekend, things have been happening. Not in my life, not like, not outside the devastating news, the heartache and the trauma that my family's enduring. But on this YouTube channel. So I gave everybody my word that watches this or watches it later or joins in live. What's up, Learning to Live? Thank you for joining. Corporations are all about the money, not the people. They have no care for it. That is very true. They don't care for humanity. They don't have a word. You know, if a corporation says something to you, which many times they do, the reason I moved to Boston was on a contract with the corporation, Entercom. And I thought they gave me their word on some stuff. And when I got here, they said, is it in the contract? Is it in writing? And I said, no, but you, like, face to face, man to man, you said it to me. And they went, oh, well. And I went, wow. Because when I give you my word on something, you can count on it. So back to the live stream and the class war and the struggle that I do here. And I gave you my word 5 days a week. And even devastating news Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Even though it might have been late at night, might have not have been an hour long, I made sure I was here because, you know, it's something I rely on, making my word good. It's one thing I can take pride in, that, for the most part, pending like natural disaster or some, act of God, I do everything I can to make my word good. I'm not saying I have a perfect record, but I'm saying I highly value that. So that's why through the past, I don't even know how many days it's, I don't know what day fucking today is, Saturday or Sunday. It's kind of a blur. I just know it's not a weekday. But I really pushed to be here, and the hard part is I couldn't really go through the news. I've been in shock. I don't know if you've ever had something traumatic happen, but your body does its best to, keep in reality, but sometimes you go into shock. And I've kind of been balancing in this state of shock, and just with, my friends who are my family, my brother, they've just been saying one foot in front of the other, and that's all I can manage to do right now. So irregardless, I haven't been able to like look up news stories or do the research that I try to bring to this live stream. And I just figured I could talk about some of the stuff that I'm going through. Maybe it will help me process, but also maybe, people could relate, or maybe, it was just easier than trying to dig through some stuff I didn't care about in the news right now. Or not that I didn't care, but just when something this devastating happens, like you immediately, your circle goes from, like, my circle is like caring about what's happening in our country, in the world, to workers, to my family, to my friends, but the communities are very important to me. And immediately that circle evaporates, and it just becomes my kids and my wife. I gotta make sure they're safe. I gotta make sure they're protected. Like, there's no room for anything else. When my kids are threatened, everything, you lose the tunnel vision kicks in real quick, and you just want your children to be safe and okay, and that's it. And it's hard as a dad to think of anything else. So that's really what happened. But I gave this live stream my word. And through my second panic attack in 19 years, which was devastating for me, and I'll go more into that, and I'll go into stuff in a bit on a different live stream, because I'm still processing. But I seriously considered just stopping doing this. Learning to live. Things come up most people would understand. I recently came across your videos. I saw the one about your father and subscribed. I related to the situation. Venting helps so much. Number one, learning to live. I appreciate you. And I'm actually going to address exactly what you just said, and you and quite a few other people. I don't want to get emotional. I don't want to cry. But I'm going to try to address it, because exactly what you just said has kept me afloat. And again, it's been a tough week, so I'm trying not to get emotional. That's why it was hard to even jump on this live stream and do this. But yeah, like what you're saying, like, I just wanted to not only vent, but like what we're going through right now is exactly what I fight for every day. It's why I organize at Starbucks. It's why I ran for mayor. It's why I go on TV with senators to fight for working class people. It's everything I do, but now it's immediately happening to me and my family. So it wasn't like out of left field to discuss, the trauma that I'm going through, the devastation, the grief. I just haven't particularly went into what's going on right now. And part of it is because I can't. I'm emotionally not prepared to. I just cannot. I can't handle it. I mentally cannot. I'm not okay. I'm 100% not okay. But I gave him my word, so I wanted to be here, and I knew I could talk about my dad taking his life. I know I could talk about losing my mom when she went to sleep and never woke up, and how that's affected my family, and how we've had a struggle much different than a lot of people, and what that entails, and how you deal with it, and mentally how you can get over it, and the scars that it leaves, a lifetime of scars. So many people said it, time will heal your wounds, and that's not true. They don't heal. You're left with scars. You're scarred forever. You don't heal from these things. And sometimes you don't recover. My youngest brother has never recovered. Still homeless. My daughter just asked me today, you think he's alive? I said, hope so. And I was really thinking about just stopping. I said, I've been doing YouTube for years. I've been working my tail off by myself after work, after I put the kids to bed late at night, just doing this because it's a passion, and it's something I would do anything to make a living. I love creating. I worked in radio for 20 years, and then they kind of blacklisted me, and investment companies bought these radio stations, so it's impossible to get a job because everything's Ryan Seacrest in every city. They just syndicate. They don't want to hire local. There's a million issues that I could go into, but it's been real tough. And I apply to 3 jobs a day almost and just haven't heard anything. I got laid off 7 years ago. So radio is another way for me to kind of create my own show, do what I felt was important to the people, but most importantly, what radio is supposed to be and doesn't do is serve the community. I want to serve people. I want to bring things to people's attention. I want to have conversations. I want to unite people so we can push for a future that we see. We can make this world into anything we want. There's nothing saying that we can't. We're supposed to be putting people in power that create the laws for us, that create the vision of the future of the country, of the way we want to live for us. And people don't believe that. So many people settle for the status quo, or it's the way it is. And I'd hate to be around those people during slavery, or civil rights, or the women's rights. I'd hate to be around them because I couldn't tolerate it. I can't tolerate it now, and that's why I do what I do. But again, I've invested years of my life into this channel. In fact, when I went on Matt Cox's YouTube channel for an interview about just my time being a really bad criminal and some of the stuff I did, not even a criminal, but just, an outlaw, so to say. He said, get rid of that channel that you've been doing, because I've had videos taken down, and he said, you might be blacklisted or whatever, then YouTube's never going to recommend you start a new channel, which I did. I started, it's at another one, but you spell 1-O-N-3. But I couldn't go live on it. A lot of work, and I have some videos up there. But really, I love this channel that I have, and I love the subscribers that are here. Like, I truly, passionately love the family that I've created. Learning to live. To serve man is to serve God. Amen, brother. That's right. On my dad's gravestone, it says, God's idea of success is helping others. That's what we put on my dad's gravestone. God's idea of success is helping others. That's what my dad has on his gravestone. So I live and die by that. And that's why I was doing this live stream 5 days a week. And this is a little emotionally exhausting for me, so I'm going to wrap it up in a minute, but I'm going to get to my point. I will. So I really just didn't want to quit this YouTube channel. And it's not like this is a huge channel, but I really appreciate the people that have joined this family, who have subscribed and who join me on the live streams and who watch my videos and who leave comments. Like, I love it. I love interacting with people. I love hearing different people's stories. I love when I can just maybe help, whether it's give somebody a laugh or engage them intellectually or challenge what they believe to make them want better for their fellow neighbors, their community. I love that. That's what I live for. That's the one thing I know I can do. That's the one thing. Even on radio, I knew I could do that. I'm not good at math, but I could do that. And then last week when that hit, I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna be done. And I've been reading the book of Samuel, the first book of Samuel. It's David's story. King David, before he was King David, had a tremendous story. Heartache, life was being an outcast, chased by King Saul, almost killed many times, many battles, took down David the Philistine, or Goliath the Philistine. David just had a sling. He wouldn't even wear armor. The king gave him his armor, and he said, this is too heavy, don't feel right. He went out in his loincloth. Absolutely incredible stories. And reading that was the only thing I could read, because I could not endure to think about anything else. So I just put my head in the Bible. This is like when my dad died. I just put my head in the Bible just to get some solace, because you read about God working through people in these incredible ways, supernatural ways. And in David's story, he will whisper to God. I thought that is, I pray, but going to God like that and saying, God, or talking to God, and he would say, God, whisper in my ear, or God would whisper in his ear. And I thought that is the most beautiful thing. And I'm not sure if that's happened to me, but I know I've had moments like that. So that's what I started doing. I said, God, whisper to me, God, just speak to me. Open up a path. Your will, not mine, but show me something. Just guide me, Right now, you're carrying me. I understand that. There's one set of footprints in the stand right now. It's only you, God. I ain't doing this. I'm not strong enough. I'm totally dependent, leaning on you. That's it. Because I can't handle this. So I just gave it all to him. And over those past few days, when I was contemplating on quitting, I was still just going through the motions, just doing the live stream each day. Something miraculous happened. And I truly think it's a miracle. I gained a bunch of subscribers. And I've never gotten so many comments on my channel. I just haven't. And people were reaching out, like Learning to Live. And people were reaching out, just sharing their panic attacks, their devastation, their heartbreak, their loss of loved ones, their loss of dads. And I hope if people watch this later, if you were in the comments, like Learning to Live, or if you were a new subscriber and you watch this later, I have to thank you. Again, I don't want to get emotional, so it's hard for me to go into this. But I read those comments and I'm trying to reply to every single one because they mean the world to me right now. They really do. You know, watching a 10 and 9-year-old get depressed and not sleep is devastating as a dad. So I've been buried in the Bible and just saying, God, can you speak to me in some way? And you in the comments were God whispering to me. You can think that's crazy. You don't have to believe me. But God whispered to me through the YouTube comments. And I knew it right away. I had no doubt, and I still have no doubt. And I'm no stranger to people being like, he's a weirdo, he's crazy, he's nuts. You know, he just wants to believe that. That's fine. And I'm used to people thinking that, but I have absolutely no doubt because the timing, there are no coincidences. I've been praying and asking God to whisper to me, and then I cannot distract my mind outside of reading the book of Saul. And I keep getting these comments, these people sharing the most intimate details of their heartache with me. And that is such a trust and a vulnerability it's hard for people to do. And they're doing it with me, and I could not believe it. I said, my God, and you bond through pain. Like I said in the beginning of this, it is very hard for me to talk to people when I feel like they're on a different world, when they haven't had the suffering that I've gone through. It's hard for me to open up about that. And I do it on here because, you know, someone could relate, but really, you know, like Learning to Live, I was saying, it's like a venting thing, and if anything, it's just documentation for my kids get older. I have nothing besides my mom's radio shows on CD to hear her voice, and I lost my parents at a young age, so it means the world to me to have her voice still.